When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world. Septum Sin versus the world.
I'd buy that for $1.
Okay.
Greetings! You're watching Septum Sin versus the World. I'm Septum Sin. I'm here with Kotobuki Jake.
Hi.
And we're here, well, to give you a top 10 list.
Yes.
Mine. Yep. Our two-parters. This is part 2. And I'm going to just hand this over to Jake because he's going to lead us off because I led us off for our first part.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do it again in our 2 parts.
Yes. So, the thing of the first part is the thing of the...
The thing of the first part to the second.
Exactly. Anyway, so our previous one, of course, was our most influential anime, the early years. So now we're moving on into the... We have had our proper exposure to anime.
Yeah.
We've learned a little bit about what this thing called anime is.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to branch out and do more stuff and whatever. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I had sort of a nebulous dividing point. Like, the first few were pretty clear cut. And then it kind of exploded into a, well, which one do I go with next? So tonight's list is going to be a little less ordered, a little less regimented than the previous one, but I think I did a pretty good job of whittling everything down. I think I did. I think. So we're going to see what happened. And it's not strictly a list of 10, I'm afraid, but it's 10 points. So the first one I'm going to mention is a show that we've mentioned a few times on this series, on the site, and it's a show called Karin. The manga was released here under the name Chibi Vampire, because I guess for some reason they figured Karin would not be distinctive
Jealous of that
enough.
edition.
Yes, this was the one that I pre-ordered from Movie Stop. It was basically the only anime I pre-ordered from them. No, I got a couple more later.
Yeah.
But it was the only Genian one I got, because Genian went under almost as soon as this was released. And this edition is very rare. And I like that I have it. And Korean, unfortunately, is very rare, because nobody has picked up the license since then. What are you people doing? Discotheque? Sentai? Funimation, somebody pick up this show. But at any rate, the reason why it makes the list, first of all, is the fact that it was the first anime I pre-ordered, so it does show a little bit of a evolution, if you will. This was one that I was introduced to by him, I believe.
Yeah.
Because we were doing our gaming nights at the local game store at the time, and he and a couple of the other people in the group would bring downloaded copies of whatever anime they were watching at the time, and I took a liking to this one. I really did, and I would pester him for new episodes. And I ended up buying it first, which I think that may be the first one I bought first.
Yeah, it was
Is one of them. I had actually bought it piecemeal and ended up giving him the older ones.
I have them sitting up on my shelf.
Yes. So the other thing is, I'm almost certain, my memory's a little hazy, I'm almost certain this was the first manga that I read in its entirety that wasn't just like a one-off. And it's what, a 14 episode? Yeah, this is Volume 1 of the manga by Yuna Kagasaki. And it's a fun little manga. And basically this volume and part of 2 is faithfully adapted in the anime. And then they went off into the ether. They brought in a character, I think Winter is a Van Helsing descendant. They brought in Winter Sinclair, one of the stupidest, most annoying anime original characters ever created, and the entire Winter storyline is practically worthless, and the anime is flawed because of this. The manga went in a totally different direction. But the other reason why this makes my list is I am trying to be a writer, and Kagesaki came up with a couple concepts that were new to me that I kind of stole. One is the idea of vampires as just normal family.
Yeah.
I've never really seen that before. And the other is the idea of the vampiric taste. Each vampire has their own taste. If they encounter someone with that taste, they become very thirsty and have to feed. Or in the case of Karine, the unvampire, she starts developing more and more blood until she explodes in a nosebleed. And unfortunately, her boyfriend happens to be someone who triggers these kind of things. The one change they made for the anime that I loved was that they changed her younger sister Anju's taste. I think it was loneliness originally.
Yeah.
And they changed it to jealousy. And the scene at the end with their douchebag older brother and all the women that he's been flirting with, I like that.
Actually, since you're showing this is more in the manga's art style, and I know that they have the anime art style in like the individual pieces.
Yeah, that's more the anime style.
You can see her model looks very different from like sort of the purplish. More, you can tell it's more cartoony.
A little bit more, yeah. But it's just a fun little show. It's a little... Oh, and there's Anju, by the way, the younger sister. And this is her best friend. Was it Toru? I can't remember her name offhand. And then this is the guy that she likes, Usui, who is reluctantly brought into the fold as the only human who knows about this family's secret. And, and his hardworking mom is also a really cool character. It's just a fun little show overall. The next one up is notable is one of the other early manga that I read. I was very late getting into manga, and eventually I did, and I was slow starting, but now I'm like reading so many. Like today, I was reading Naruto, and I'm just I was reading the big battle in the Chunin exam of Shikamaru versus Tamari, which was very interesting, especially the ending. And then anyway, so the next one up is a very different model for adapting anime from a manga, because this one was highly faithful.
Oh, yeah.
This is notable, as we've mentioned many times on this channel, the greatest show I've ever seen, Mezanakoku. Rumiko Takahashi series, 96 episodes. I did not bring all 8 sets this time, just the one. You've seen all 8. You don't need to see it again.
You don't want to keep transporting that number 8. It's too valuable.
No, this one, worst comes to worst, I can replace it for $30, but I'd rather not. But Ikoku is a phenomenal show. This will build on what I said last week about how influential Rumiko Takahashi in general has been for me as an anime fan and as a manga fan. I'm a very, very, very big fan of her stuff. Again, very distinctive art style. Ikoku was probably the first really good romance series I saw. I mean, a lot of them, like Karine, had romance in them. And, of course, I had been influenced by this point. I'm not sure about the order that I have these in. I may have already had a few.
Talked about Ranma last time.
And Ranma has some romance elements, but this one was where it was front and center. And it has a lot of the craziness that Ranma has, and some of these characters are definitely forerunners of characters that showed up in Ranma. They're in some way, shape, or form, but this is just, it's a great show. We've already said a lot. I don't really think I have much more to say.
Watch our other videos.
Exactly. So, speaking of romance, there's a very popular genre in anime that is notorious. Some may even call it infamous. Some people hate it with the passion of a blazing sun. And some people say that it's everything that's wrong with anime. And some people say, what are y'all talking about? This is the greatest thing ever. I'm talking, of course, about harem series. And I could blame him for introducing me to harem series. I mentioned before, he tried to get me to watch Tenchi when I still was learning what anime was. And Tenchi GXP could have been on this list, but it isn't. I ended up choosing two. One that is a clear and definitive harem series, and one that is usually lumped into the genre, but probably is better. It's more of an action romance than a true harem. The first, of course, is Love Hina. Ken Akamatsu series. You may recognize the artwork because it's the same guy who did Negima. And this one basically focuses on Kentaro Urashima, a hapless youth who ends up as the manager for a girls' dormitory. In a lot of ways, Love Hina is an inverse Maison Koku, actually, because you have the male manager of a... and you got Naru Narusagawa, his ain true love, and a very, very, very violent tsundere character.
Yeah, several tsundere characters.
We know people who despise this character. Shinobu, of course, is the cheerful but shy wallflower type. You know, you got his aunt who's the older kind of, you know. And then the boozer. That's all we'll say on her, the boozer.
Yet better than Ichinose.
Yes. And then Mutsumi Otohime, one of my favorite characters, a dingbat who has no sense of direction and speaks turtleese. And, and is highly anemic. And he has failed the entrance exam 3 times because he just can't make the cut. She has failed because she keeps doing things like forgetting to put her name on the test. I liked her, though, and I played a character named Lane, who was supposed to be her daughter. It was so much fun. And then you got the character Motoko, who is the swords person. And then you got the weird one, the childish foreigner. And the show is flawed. There is no two ways about it.
Yeah.
It's a full-blown harem, but it is one of the early ones, so it's hasn't fallen into a lot of the lazy tropes that a lot of them have nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's just an energetic, fun show, and I went ahead and brought the Christmas special because I liked the Christmas special. This was one where the specials actually built on the story and continued the story. And this one had some significant plot development.
Was this just the Christmas one?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I also had the spring special, and they did a 3-episode OVA called Love Hina again. I didn't really feel like bringing those. The next one I'm going to mention is a slightly classier one. Like I said, not a true harem, but it gets lumped in with them.
Closer on the Magic Girl genre.
More on the Magic Girl. This is Ah My Goddess.
Good series, though.
Really good series. This is, of course, I guess it's the first series, and then Flights of Fancy was the second series. And it's from, what is his name? Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank. The, Yuriko Fujizaki, I think is his... Am I getting that right? No, that's not right. Kosuke Fujishima.
Yep.
The guy that did You're Under Arrest, which I know is a favorite of yours.
Oh, yeah.
This is a really fun show about, again, a hapless college student who has 2 very, 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 very psychotically disturbed senpai in his motorcycle club. And they force him to babysit or house sit their dormitory one night. And he gets a call out of the blue. And he thinks it's a prank by his senpai. And goes along with it, and finds himself contracted to a goddess, Belle Dandy, who is there basically to serve his every wish. And he eventually they're joined by her half-demon older sister Erd and their younger sister Scold. And Erd is one of the most awesome characters in any anime ever. She is awesome. And the show has phenomenal music. Some of the best opening themes of any show. And great ending themes. There's a really fun chibi spin-off called The Adventures of Mini Goddess.
Great series. Great series.
It's just a fun show. It's a good show. And I wasn't sure either one of these really needed a full slot, so I kind of cheated. But they're both very influential to me as an early anime fan. I fell in love with the characters. I really fell in love with the show.
So when did you watch? Now, I think this one was the first version you watched, right? Whereas I know the earlier one, the Oh My Goddess, which actually Oh My
That's
Goddess.
right.
And then there was the movie for Oh My Goddess.
Okay.
Now I don't know. Did you watch those first, or did you actually watch this series?
No, I watched this first. Okay, he brings up a good point. This show had a weird and torturous road to fruition. The original release was a 5 episode OVA, which was titled Oh My Goddess. Of course, Megami-sama is the proper, and you can tell early 90s art style. You can definitely see the difference there.
I like the themes, though.
Yeah. But there are some character albums that come with this that I have, and some of them are great. There's, and then you had in 2000, you had the movie, which, come to think of it, this does stand alone. I should probably watch it for our upcoming list.
Oh, it's a good one.
They did a movie, and then they did the series based on the movie. And since then, they've had a handful of OVA that have come out now and then.
That's much closer to the manga.
Yeah, and I still need to read the manga. I want to. It is getting a re-release right now, which is good, because it was getting really hard to get. Next up, I have a really strange choice. This is one of those weird shows that he thought it would be a good idea for me to see, and he actually was kind of right. And the reason why this makes the list, this one is properly known as 2x2 equals Shinobudan. But it was released here as Ninja Nonsense, The Legend of Shinobu. And it follows this total ditz named Shinobu, who is training to be a kunoichi, and she is training with quite probably the worst possible set of teachers, particularly Onsakamaru, this weird, yellow, ball-shaped, strange...
Well, he is the head of the ninja clan.
Super pervert. He is this very perverted ninja clan behind him. Shinobu has this kid sister, Miyuki, I think her name is. And then there's this random high school girl that she meets when she is on a mission to steal panties.
That she's kind of in love with.
And this is not a high-class series,
No.
but I absolutely love the ender. They have, like, the characters on popsicle sticks, and it's this song called Kuru Kuru Rin that's really, 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 really fun. The reason why this makes this list, more than anything else... Oh, wait, that's on Sakamaru. I was wondering why he wasn't on the cover. He's half the cover. Okay, anyway. This one, I don't recall if it was you or someone else in the group, actually gave me burned copy of this.
Probably me.
Of this. Back when I had not really gotten into collecting anime, I didn't really have much. I was starting to love it, but I didn't really have much access to it at the time. And I was still living in Salem and working my butt off as a waiter in a restaurant. And let me tell you, when you are working as a waiter in a restaurant, you need something to unwind afterwards. And this may be, I kind of hate to say it, I don't know what it says about me, This may be one of the reasons I took to anime as much as I did, because I had this when I was exhausted and angry and a little bit drunk. This was the perfect
great to
thing
watch
to
when you're
put
drunk.
on. It was perfect. And, man, there were so many nights that I probably would have had a very bad... I would have gone to bed angry without this show. So it does have a place for it.
But no, an even happier show, apparently.
Oh, yes. Speaking of good times. Okay, this one's on here for very different reasons. And we've actually mentioned this one for much of the same reasons when we did our list of the best anime. And I mentioned this as an influence on me in terms of I'm normally a very peaceful guy. I abhor violence. I don't like killing. I don't like anything. I hate, this time, in the last few weeks, I've been finding all these Japanese beetles. I hate killing them, but I have to. But there is a bloodthirsty part of me. I am human. And so I enjoy certain shows because of this. And one of the shows, more than any other, that really fits into that part of my psyche is Elfen Lied. And I chose this as the poster child for that type of show. I could theoretically have put Hellsing on here as well for the same reason.
That was bloody.
And then maybe even Black Lagoon, although that came later. But Elfen Lied, I instantly fell in love with it, and it was probably the first truly violent show that I actually enjoyed. It was the one that really healed much of the damage Ninja Scroll wrought on me.
The best series of all. Best series and movie of all time.
Yeah. For a lot of the same reasons that I despise Ninja Scroll, Elfen Lied did it right. And I came to like the series all the more for that. So, I still need to watch the OVA. I still need to crack this version open and watch the OVA. But I definitely love the show. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. Lucy is, again, one of my favorite anime characters. And, yeah, it's just a very interesting one.
You and me both. We both got it sitting there unopened on the shelf.
Right. And speaking of favorite anime characters, one of my all-time favorites
That's a cool looking set.
is Izumi Konata. One of the ultimate otaku characters. And in fact, the reason why I have Lucky Star, this is volume 1. This is part 1. This
Talk
is
about
like
taking up a lot of shelf
4
space.
episodes. It actually has a magnetic cover that opens up,
That
and
is cool, though.
you've got the, let's see here, all kinds of stuff. You got the actual set, which I have six of these plus the OVA. Volume 6 and the OVA are not collector's editions. And then there's actually a shirt that came wrapped up in there. There is the soundtrack for the opening theme, Moteki Sailor Fuku. And there's a character song CD. And an Unko screen... No. Chocolate Cornet screen
Yeah,
light.
different thing, because she's always eating those. She's
Yes.
not eating poop, though.
She's always eating those chocolate cornets. And set number 1 is clearly the fanciest of the bunch. The others are all in flimsy boxes that are hard to open, and it's very annoying. But they have much of the same sort of stuff in them. But the reason I had to spring for this, again, kind of like Karine, I didn't realize how freaking much they would go down in price. Bandai kind of took a bath with this. They paid way more than they intended to and didn't sell these. But the reason I needed to is Konata is such a poster child for otaku. I was like, I can't get her series and not get the collector's editions.
So is this like your first slice of life series?
That's one of the reasons it's on here. The Lucky Star may have been my first slice of life. It was one of the first. It's one of my favorites. I do love slice of life series. That's another group that a lot of people despise with a fiery passion, but I love them. And the other thing is the fact that I did this. I think this is the first series that I went out of my way to get a collector's edition sets. And that's kind of, because Lord knows we do that a lot now.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I don't even remember most of the characters, honestly. But I know Kagami is her name. And she is a twin. These are the two twins. She is the hardworking, studious, rather tsundere type. She's the soft-hearted goofball. She's the rich dingbat character. Total otaku. And then you have these two. There's a little show within a show called Lucky Channel. And I think his name is Minoru Shiraishi. And he's actually, the voice actor is playing a version of himself. And then you have this girl, can't remember the name she goes by, but she is a total split personality. I mean, she tries to be this idol, real chipper, cheerful, and then in a heartbeat, she's not. Fun show, very influential in general, because this spawned a lot of slice of life series.
Yeah.
This was also an early effort from KyoAni that really kind of helped put them on the map here in this country. And it was, if I remember correctly, the forerunner for Haruhi Suzumiya. Or is it the direct opposite? It came directly after Haruhi. And it actually directly references Haruhi in multiple ways.
That was the art style that actually drove me to that series.
Right.
So, and I talked about that, and I can't remember what one I did, but I know I did some talk about it before.
Right.
Maybe in a pickup, because I think I did for the other.
Next one I'm going to include, again, as an introduction to a particular genre, really. He had told me that I needed to make sure to watch some actual shoujo series. I've seen a few now, and I still cannot remember the dividing line between young and adult in terms of the actual terminology. Is it shoujo? Is that the one that becomes josei? I can't remember. The adult ones, I should remember this. Yeah. But, so like Ikoku would be sort of the adult version, if you will. But I have seen a couple full-blown shoujo series. Of course, Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, those kind of. But one of the first ones I saw, which actually ended up influencing me a fair bit, was a show called Super Gals.
Love that set.
And this is a cool little set. It's very weird and distinctive. But this is a show about this girl, Ran Kotobuki, who considers herself the queen of Shibuya. And she and her friends, Miyu and what's the dark-haired one?
It's been so long since I've watched this series.
It's been a while. I remember Miyu.
I haven't even watched my version of that set.
Miyu is like the really sweet, kind-hearted, but you come to find out in the series that her past is colorful. Ron is the super high-energy, won't back down, won't take no for an answer, kind of my way or the highway kind of character.
Yeah.
And the friends just are caught up in her whirlwind. And then this one's a really studious girl who gets kind of caught up and dragged along. And Ron has a cop older brother who's actually dating Miyu, so that's kind of an ick factor for some people. But, And then there's this guy who's Ron calls Monkey, if I remember correctly. He's a strange character. He's like he's from the Southern Islands, right?
It's the guy that
Right.
she sort of has
She has sort of a
sort of
thing
a
for
thing.
him. This is just a fun, high energy,
Oh yeah.
very strange show. Like I said, full-blown shoujo, and it's kind of hard for me to just pop in and watch it any time. But every now and then I can sit down and watch it. And it's definitely helped broaden the anime horizons.
It definitely introduces you to the gal culture.
Oh, yeah.
And introduced me to Shibuya.
Yeah.
Gave me a full idea as to what that
Shibuya
is.
being kind of one of the trendy districts of Tokyo. Like, really...
I learned about the dog from that show.
Yes. The dog that shows up in quite a few anime, actually. Yes. And is a character in his own right in this one. Next up, well, speaking of dogs, although in this case we're thinking more of a wolf, most of these shows, actually, I think every single show we've talked about, he introduced me to. Tonight, at least.
Except for the...
Except for the very first one, Superbook, from the previous one. So the next one is extremely notable because we have been long-time frequent users of Anime News Network. And every now and then, ANN will post shows for streaming. And they also, of course, do their reviews. You know, they will definitely do their reviews of shows as they're going along and what have you. And so watching ANN, a lot of shows crossed my radar that I'd never heard of before, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, whatever. The first show that really caught my attention from ANN, and therefore I credit it as the first show that I found entirely on my own, and started watching on my own, and actually introduced the group to... is this one. It's called Okami-san and Her Seven Companions. And basically, I remember ANN's description was something along the lines of, it included a phrase that was very similar to this, of a tsundere wolf and her evil, lowly best friend, Red Riding Hood. And I like the idea of evil, lowly best friend. I just love that idea of one of the two of them being friends. But then so Ringu, I'm trying to find a good, here's a good picture of him. Okay, so you got the wolf, Okami. You got Ringu, who's red. And then you got this dude, whose name I forget, who's the main guy character. And he's the huntsman from the Red Riding Hood tale, except that he is a complete and total coward. Absolute coward. He is able to...
He's a good shot, though.
He's a great shot. He is a phenomenal marksman. He is able to, under certain circumstances... he can stand up and be a man and whatever. And he and Okami, of course, have kind of a thing going... Red basically just screws with people, but she's got a good heart. She's not evil. She's just mischievous. But one of the reasons I like this, I am a big fan of revisionist fairy tales. I loved Shrek when it came out, and I loved Shrek 2. I love Puss in Boots. The other Shrek movies...
Actually, this is the first anime that he actually introduced to me.
Right. And this was one of the ones... it references not just the Red Riding Hood tale, it references a lot. There's a brief blink and you miss it and it will make your skin crawl reference to Hansel and Gretel. There are references to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a bunch of them. But one of the cool... when I tried to tell this to people, I said it was Shrek meets the Oron High School Host Club, with like a what was the other thing? I don't remember. But just like with the Oron High Host Club, these characters are in a club that exists basically to provide services for people. And they provide favors. It actually reminded me almost of a mafia setup because they provide favors But the guy who runs the club and his secretary, vice president, whatever, are a riff on the fairy tale of the lazy cricket and the ant. You know, the studious, hardworking ant, the cricket who just wanted to play his fiddle and ended up dying when winter came. The two of the other characters in the series are a riff off of the Japanese fairy tale of Taro and Otohime, and the kingdom of Ryugu. And actually, I meant to mention with Love Hina, another reason why I wanted to mention Love Hina is Taro and Otohime. This was my first experience, my first exposure to that fairy tale. So that, in a sense, was a good sort of cultural thing. But Ryugu Otohime is this character right here. Like I said, she's a major piece of the action. And I absolutely love the end theme sequence to this series. Absolutely. It's like a video game sequence, and I absolutely loved it. And it's just a fun show. And for my first solo venture into the world of anime, I could have done a lot worse. And this was another one I definitely pre-ordered, and I had to get the very nice set, and I'm glad I did. It's very cool.
I've got the plain set.
And another one that I pre-ordered, the nice set from Funimation, is this one is going to be a show that I think I was actually introduced by the manga. And I think this may be the first show I got into because of the manga. And it is a pale retread of the manga, unfortunately.
Good advertising for the
It's
CDs if they ever come out
it's
with them.
phenomenal advertising for the CDs if we can ever get them. And that is the series Rosario and Vampire, which basically Mocha Akashiya is a vampire who wears a rosary that keeps her powers locked away. Because in this world, vampires are powerful. And when her power comes out, she's a nasty piece of work. When they're locked away, she has a little bit of power, but mostly she's just a nice, charming, cute, ditzy schoolgirl.
Yeah.
And she meets this guy whose name, of course, is escaping me. I always forget who the damn guys are. Tsukune, who, the very first time they meet, she ends up sucking his blood and loving it, and they become close. And the thing is, Tsukune is not a good student and ends up accidentally enrolled in an academy for monsters. He is the only human there, and they have a standing rule that humans found on campus are fair game to be killed or worse. So he's kind of not in a good place. But of course, he quickly, because this is a harem show, he quickly finds himself with not only a vampire, but a succubus, a witch, and a Yukiona, or snow maiden. And the Yukiona in particular is an awesome character. She's great. And this one in particular, her theme song, Nagisa no Deka no Melon, or something like that, translates large melons at the beach. One of the best summer songs ever. Dirty as hell, but one of the best summer songs ever. But like he said, all the characters have theme songs, character songs that are performed in the show. This is basically a blatant commercial for the music, and yet the American release has no soundtrack.
Nope.
I don't get it.
Limited edition, at least.
I know. But the cool thing about the manga that is in the anime, but it's toned down. The manga actually does take time to educate you about these monsters. Yeah. And that's really cool. I like how they did that. And you learn a lot about not just Japanese, but also American and European folklore. And I like the concept of a school where all these different monsters come together. And again, this one ended up being influential in my writing, if only because it made me want to have a Yukiona character. And actually, Yukiona is a full separate species, which, you know. But I love that. It's a good show. It's not brilliant, but it's fun. And now the last one. See, we're not going to quite hit an hour. I still cheated. It's more than one. Partly as a bridge to our next anime one, I thought I would end with a discussion of movies. And specifically, I brought The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which was my introduction to Mamoru Hosoda. Perfect Blue, which was my introduction to Satoshi Kon. And 5 centimeters per second, which was my introduction to Makoto Shinkai. The late, great Mr. Kon, unfortunately, is no longer with us.
Yeah.
But he left us a phenomenal body of work. This one, Paprika, Tokyo Godfathers, the Millennium Actress, and the series Paranoia Agent. And there's also a movie he was working on that may be completed, but it will be more of a hybrid affair. But these two, Hosoda and Shinkai, are very much active voices in anime. Mirai was one of the best films that came out last year, and it was the first anime that wasn't from Ghibli to get an Oscar nod. Hells yeah. And Shinkai, not only was Your Name reamed by Oscar, but it was the highest grossing anime ever. He has a new film coming out just a few months from now. And just these three are not the only phenomenal directors out there. Mario Kuda's first attempt at making a film, Makia, was pretty flippin' awesome. And, oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the director of A Silent Voice, but she is phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
And there are some really great ones. But these three films really helped, along with the ones I covered last week. I think it was, or last time. I think it was Grave of the Fireflies and Spirited Away.
Yeah.
The anime as film is become a huge thing for me. This is like a lot of my favorite films are anime. And it's become sort of my mission to try to get an Oscar in the Hollywood Foreign Press and all these stupid people to get their heads out their butts and realize, they're not all the next Bleach movie or the next Dragon Ball movie or the next,
Those are the highest ranking.
No. Now, I will say the first Bleach movie is a perfectly good standalone film. The second one, if you've never seen the show, you'll be lost.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've become an enormous fan of anime films. I have revisited both of these in the past week and getting ready for our upcoming. I will be revisiting this one. I do have to admit this is one of the most depressing films ever made.
They're good. That one's good at depressing films.
So depressing. But Your Name was not depressing. It was melancholy. It was bittersweet. But
I'll admit this one has impressed me and also created a film that is one of my least favorite anime films. So it's
and this one also is notable. He actually was the one that found this because it was on Amazon for obscene prices, and we wanted to know what kind of movie sells for that much. Of course, it's all a matter of timing. This edition is now super freaking expensive, but not as much now that Funimation has re-released it. But this was one of the last things Bandai put out before they stopped their American releases. So they only did a limited print run of the Blu-ray, and I'm very happy I got that one. But but this was the re-release. I do not have the initial release of this one. And this, of course, is the re-release, the very recent re-release. But at any rate,
the cover that they had in the original release better. It's a kind of a darker cover, but it's a darker film. Yeah.
But all three of these have been out of print for significant lengths of time.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is one reason Criterion needs to get them, so they will no go out of print again. But anyway, so like I said, I don't know that was really the definitive order, but that largely gets me up to the present day. I still see anime that influence me, anime that really catch my attention. Again, if you watched our video of the best series, I fell instantly in love with Chihaya Furu. I absolutely love that show. I was tempted to include the Squid Girl on this list, and that one has some
significance.
Yeah, there are some very significant ones. Oh, and I skipped over honorable mentions.
I was going to ask you about those.
Okay, so my honorable mentions, I decided to go with a theme. And my theme is, when the freaking hell are we going to get these in America? And the two specifically, more than any others, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei.
Yeah.
Hugely influential to me. I absolutely love this show. I've read a large portion of the manga, and I love the manga. I absolutely love the opening scene. I tried to recreate the opening scene in a game, and that was not something
permanently scarred your character's relationship with the group.
That character was so hated, I ended up not even playing it. It was, it was great. Because, but anyway, but the other thing is, Zetsubo Sensei, to my mind, it is, it really helped me to appreciate a lot about Japanese culture, because it is such a culture-drenched series. And the ending themes, oh my god, Zesei Bijin, the very first ending theme, is still my favorite anime theme. It is so awesome. And not just the song, but the animation and everything is really cool. A lot of the ending things, Zetsubo's restaurant's really good. The one time where they decided to spoof up-tempo pop openers with Going Ni Maya, it was one of the best openers I've ever seen, even though it was a spoof.
And his favorite, pork fried rice.
I don't care for that one, no. But Zetsubo Sensei is it's a great show. It's it deserves a better audience here. It deserves a release here. A full release, all of it, not just bits and pieces. Because I think they did release like 4-episode volume, and it went instantly out of print. Like, it just, Media Blasters really did drop the ball with that one. And then the other one I want to mention is Mermaid Scar. We have mentioned that a few times on this show. It did get an American VHS release way back in the day, and has never gotten a DVD or Blu-ray release. Another Takahashi series. This one, along with Elfen Lied, really kind of awoke my bloodthirsty interest in anime. It is one of the more twisted ones I've seen. A lot of those Takahashi ones could be mentioned. The Laughing Target is another one. And I kind of want to mention Cheeky Angel for this, but because that was kind of influential on me as well. But I could go on, and I'm not going to. But those two in particular, Zetsubo Sensei and Mermaid Scar, yeah, they, and I'm not the only one. There are people that are just like, when are we going to get these?
And see our discussion on Mermaid Scar.
Yes, on the Mermaid, our discussion with David Strage on Mermaid Scar.
We definitely talk about
movies galore.
We definitely do talk about the release,
right,
or lack of.
Right. And so I guess that does it for me. So unless you had any final commentary.
Well, I actually thought that I was going to have a lot of overlap with my list, and there is overlap with the first list, but I don't think there's going to be any overlap on my list.
It should be interesting.
It will be interesting.
So tune in for his video.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Oh, did you do the whole subscribe, and all that fun stuff?
We did now.
There you go. Bye.
Goodbye.